VGC is supported by Patreon. Check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle for more podcasts, ad-free browsing, and extra content. Thank you for your support. This machine is killing me. It's VGC the Video Game Podcast, episode 178, with me, Jordan Midler, Chris Scullion, Andy Robinson, and Chris Dring. This week, it's the end of the plastic world as we know it. I feel mixed. How do you feel, Chris Scullion?
I'm sure we'll get to it later on, but just in general, I'm okay.
Okay?
A wee bit unwell this week, but that's all good.
You've got dengue fever.
That's it. The greatest fever.
I'm not okay, I promise, but I know who is. Chris Dring, how you doing?
Well, that's a great... I'm really excited for My Chemical Romance on Friday. That is what I am. I've been reading some of the reviews. Apparently, the gig is unhinged, which... I'm very
just like you,
like me. I can be at gigs. I'll be honest. And
not a hinge to be found.
Turn up with a GFK data.
I'm very much last year I went to Lincoln Park, and coincidentally Jeff Keighley was going to the same gig, and he said that he was. We were talking, let's meet up, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm in this box," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's not where I am." I'm very much down the front.
Thought you were a real fan, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm going to see them on Saturday in Glasgow's Bellehouston Park, which is apparently going to be some kind of swamp this weekend. So I look forward to that.
It's going to be quite hot in London, I think, when I go as well. But oh well.
Tringo, can you fax the data to Jordan so that he can then send that to everyone as well?
Yeah, you go around and share the...
shouting, Black Parade, did any of you realise that Star Fox just outsold the 3DS version?
Black Parade, here's some Black Friday stats. Let's get into it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
the problem is, the last time I went to a gig in Bellehouston was Green Day and Fall Out Boy, and I had such a bad hay fever attack that my eyes basically welded shut. So it was a nice kind of accessible performance, so I could just hear it and have absolutely no idea where they were.
Was it the Hella Mega Tour? Was that in the...
It was, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I went to the London one of that as well. It's great.
Yeah. You need to stop going to gigs in London. It's full of posh prinnies down in London. Come up to Glasgow, the bit of city of culture, you know?
Yeah. Well, now that I've got... there's a member of the team is a Glaswegian, I should make my way, shouldn't I?
We're taking over. Speaking of someone who's been taken over by Scots, Andy Robinson, how you doing?
I'm all right, I think. I think so. I've booked a pub for 1 a.m.
Nice.
on Monday morning for the England game.
So we can expect to see you bright and breezy on Monday morning for some hot news action?
Absolutely not. I'm in high altitude by then. I need to have 4 days to acclimatise.
Andy's been drinking pints on top of a windmill to get himself ready for the high altitude drinking. I was in London this week very briefly to play Blood of Dawnwalker, which you'll hear about sometime in the future, and it was so muggy that my knees started sweating, and that's something that's never happened to me in my entire life. The rest of my body was fine. I've got very strong deodorant. I'm sorted out. Knees sweating. My knees weak. Arms are heavy. If you'd like more Eminem references, you can get them at patreon.com/videogameschronicle. Eminem's coming on to do a 50-part series about Football Manager, so look forward to that. More podcasts, more videos, and ad-free browsing. Last few tickets are available for VGC Live. You know who's going to be there? Chris Dring. He'll show you his fancy jacket, and yes, that is an innuendo. Right. You probably know what's coming this week. It's not going to be a happy, smiley, fun one, but let's get through it because it's a hell of a week for headlines. Story number 1. PlayStation announces the end of disc games starting in January 2028. Following this date, new games from all publishers will be available on the PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only, it said. The transition to digital won't affect games that have already been released or will be released prior to January 2028 in disc format. Sony said, quote, as consumer preferences in the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January 2028. It added, this is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to to adapt to consumer trends and general preferences for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. We'll continue to prioritize our resources to drive innovation in how players can access and provide choices as to where players prefer to purchase new games, whether that's at retailers or PlayStation Store. We remain committed to delivering world-class gaming experiences to our fans, and we thank you for your continued support. Chris Dring, we have a lot of data here, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years. While the industry has certainly significantly shifted to digital, to say this news landed poorly with the gaming audience would be a bit of an understatement. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's true that digital is now the dominant form of how people access video games in quite a considerable way, and it's becoming more dominant. But there's still actually quite a large number of people that buy physical goods. In my latest episode of the show, if you take 007 First Light, and I've got European market data for this is digital and physical, it did just over 1 million units across Europe, and 230,000 of those units was the boxed version of the game. And that's, by the way, including PC and Xbox as well, which is even more digital than PlayStation. So you can imagine that you're probably looking at 25% plus of people who bought that game on PS5 bought the box version of that game. That's a lot of people, right? You know, we can think all about the numbers going down, talk about it being smaller and smaller and smaller, but 230,000 people is a lot of people. And when you've got it's Sakana shared some data that said that for the 12 months ending May 2009, the physical retail market was worth, I think it was nearly $12 billion. But for the 12 months ending May 2026, it's $1.6 billion. So it's a huge drop. But that's still $1.6 billion. I mean, I'd have a bit of that. So there is a lot of people that still buy physical goods, particularly amongst that more hardcore community that like to have that tangible item to put on their shelves and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it landed pretty poorly, because it's not like it's a completely insignificant market. And it surprised me, actually. Although this is the direction of travel, this happening eventually doesn't surprise me. But this
do you think if they'd held off maybe for like 2 more years, they could have got away with it? I know they're in an awkward position where they have to make these moves before the transition to whatever the next console is going to be, but 2028 seems so soon. Like, I know 2028 in some ways feels like it's in the far-flung future, but it's like 18 months for now.
Yeah, the thing is, it has started to plateau a little bit, that decline. You're not seeing, actual fact, in the US, more physical games have been sold in the last 12 months than the previous 12 months. So it's actually, we're actually seeing a growth at the moment.
Well, howdy.
You might see a slight shift, but I don't think it's going to be too dramatic in this time. We've sort of gone through those dramatic shifts. COVID did a lot of that as well. But yeah, it does, you also trying to keep costs down. Most people do buy digitally, but and a lot of those people I mentioned, those 230,000 people at 007 First Light, if they couldn't get the physical version, they will probably buy the digital version. But just they like to buy the physical one, and I think that's why you're getting that sort of angry comments. But they wouldn't be surprised.
They are bullying Spider-Man. I saw a Spider-Man trailer get put up on the Spider-Man Twitter, and all the replies were like, "F you, Sony, you got to bring back the PlayStation discs." It's like Tom Holland is not the one making these decisions, unfortunately, but you know who is. Andy Robinson, we are both Johnny Digitals. We've been so for a long, long time. Can you understand the outrage that has been spawned here? And do you think it's maybe a very online outrage? Do you think this is going to percolate to the normal consumer?
No, I absolutely don't think it's niche and unfair. The most shocking thing about this for me, everyone's seen this coming, right? Anyone who pays attention to, sales trends like we talked about, this has been coming for a long, long time. I mean, there's a generation of adults now who've been, grown up and have been taught to buy digital, right? They don't know. I mean, I like you just alluded to there, I think that I've pretty much been all digital on PlayStation for about 10 years. Probably like a lot of people on Nintendo, I'll buy physical. Just a weird little quirk, I guess, the type of games that you're getting, I guess. But the shocking thing for me, wasn't that it's okay, maybe it's a bit soon, or feels a bit soon just because of how it's seemingly come out of nowhere. But the bigger shock is that how they're like literally closing the plants.
Yeah.
And there are no discs from now on for anyone from anywhere. Because a lot of these, niche little indie publishers and stuff like that, there's been a lot of, there are publishers who like making physical games, there are consumers who like physical games. Even if they want to do it, you cannot do it anymore. We're not making them for you. That's shocking. Yeah. That you don't even have the choice.
That's the baffling thing for me, because I assumed when this was going to happen that they would retain a very small printing press, so that if say Remedy wants to do a collector's edition of Alan Wake 3 or whatever, they can print a small number of discs and then pack it full of plastic shite and do that for the collectors. But
I mean, the setup for that, the reason for that will be because they're about to launch a console that you very clearly won't have a disc drive, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of advantages to them just pulling the Band-Aid off, right? We talked about GTA recently, like leaks and stuff like that, and they had the issue recently with a PS4 game, that Star Wars Racer, that caused a load of piracy on PS4. People can go right up to the wire with their deadlines for finishing their game. They can get higher margins, blah 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 blah. But it's just, for me, like, there's a lot of sentiment around this, right? A lot of emotion, and part of that is because there's a lot of love associated with physical games, right? Physical games are your Christmas mornings, they're your birthday gifts. They're, for me, they're my, I've started getting lots of stuff signed, they're like getting stuff like this signed, right? Which is, in future, is like, that really hit home when I was like, but in not too distant future, people won't have any. Like, say, for example, the next time I see Nico from Team Asobi, like when they make their next game, they won't have a game. Like, he's a big collector as well, and he'll be he'll be happy to give. He won't have any games he's gonna have to sign a gift card or some shit, right? I mean, look. I spoke to Matt Piscatella from Sakana this week, and he was like, "Look, there's still going to be codes in a box, and there's still going to be special editions and stuff like that. And special editions haven't come with games for a long time, right? But that's why there's a lot of sentiment, right? Like, I mean, I still cherish my Super Mario 64 cartridge, but no one loves a mobile app. Right? No, no one's like, oh, I really love like Flower or whatever. But it kind of feels like, Chris, like this whole thing and everything that's been going. And I mean, I know it's like it's the end of Microsoft's fiscal year, and you usually get like a lot of people kind of make decisions around the summer this time when they have to. But coming off a Summer Game Fest, oh my God! Like the couple of weeks from we were feeling good, right?
Yeah, I know.
It was the best Summer Game Fest, I think. It's the best summer showcase collection of showcases since the pandemic. I feel like we're late stage gen. There's some good games around now, and it's just all gone. And the feeling I couldn't help, I went to write something about this, and then I didn't. I thought I'd save it for the podcast, but like, it just feels like consoles are in this existential crisis right now, right? Where all these different headlines and all this stuff going on. When you buy a console, there was like this unwritten agreement, You were signing up to an understanding that it was going to fulfill certain things. It was going to deliver you exclusive games. It was going to be affordable, and it was going to give you convenience over a PC. I mean, you're seeing like this week, like Shuhei Yoshida was sharing his like Steam machine impressions, right? And he's like, this thing cost me $1,200, and it defaults to 1080p, and the games take ages to load, and I have to, that's the difference between a PC and a console, right? Turn it on and it works. That's the agreement. But you only have to look at the headlines recently to see that a lot of those things have been, like, at best, significantly compromised. Consoles are not affordable anymore. Xbox is about to gut, half of its studios making those exclusive games. And now you can't, if you choose, buy your games on disc and own those games and pass them to friends, etc., etc. Even on PC, right, on Steam, you can uninstall Steam and still have all of those game files and put them, like, burn them to a disc or something and give them someone, take them somewhere else. Like, you can do that. I can't help but be reminded of 13 years ago this summer in that Seattle airport, and I was with John Hicks, who was on OXM at times, now gamesindustry.biz. And it was a day after that, kind of infamously catastrophic Xbox One reveal, where they announced all of these hugely unpopular policies around game ownership. like the always online requirement, and essentially they were turning discs into digital licenses, which we're now probably going to see come back if discs exist at all. And I just remember the whole conversation about this over the beer in the airport, and kind of chewing the fat on that the issue with Xbox One at the time, for me, well, okay, those were clearly ahead of its time, and that's been, kind of like vindicated. But they didn't show, the talk was all about what you couldn't do. And they didn't spend enough time showing the advantages, right? Because it's always online, and all you got was people talking about how they were servicemen on submarines and they won't be able to play Xbox One and shit like that, right? But the biggest game of that launch, that gen, was Titanfall. And you could only play it online. All the AI characters and stuff like that was powered by Azure, right? They didn't show that game. It didn't come till E3, right? The discs, I can't trade in my discs, I can't do that. They had that whole family sharing system, right? It's basically like Steam, which is incredible, right? You can sign someone up and it's like you see on Nintendo Switch now. It's brilliant. You can just like lend people your digital games and stuff like that. They didn't show it. And it feels like Sony now are making the same mistake, They need to be talking about what is the agreement now? What's the deal? What are you committing to now that you're essentially removing ownership, from your games in future? What protections are we going to have? What advantage do you have? What are you going to do for us? And you can't help but feel again that that was all born 13 years ago from the competition. Xbox, the previous, was coming into that new gen, having led the previous one for the majority of the time. And, that competition, Sony, I think it was that, I'm pretty sure it was that gen where one of the execs said they literally decided in a room, that day to chop like $100 off the price of PS4, right? Something like that. And their policy, announced their policy, the famous, kind of use game thing. Well, this is what happens in a world where you don't have any competition, right? They're looking after number one. And you can understand that the games industry is in an incredibly tough, position right now. You've seen all the prices going up and they're really facing it, right? Like what on earth is a console's going to look like? They are having this existential crisis, right? But that's happening to consumers as well. Like everything around consumers is more expensive, everything. And it feels like being able to buy pre-owned games or give your games to your little brother, your little cousin, stuff like that is probably going to be more important than ever. And that's gone. And that's sad.
Hey, one of the reasons, and it's there's a simplicity to consoles. There used to be. And you talk about that family sharing thing. I think that exists on Switch too, but I tried to work out how to let my son play Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC. So I got Donkey Kong Bonanza. I bought the cartridge version because I played it, and then I can give him the cartridge. He can plug it in. He can play it. It's so simple. And then I got the DLC, and I tried to work out how to let him play the DLC on his console too. And in the end,
it might be something to do with Switch Online. Probably Switch Online, because I've got a family account, and then everyone has it, right?
Yeah, it was. I couldn't work it out, and I'm sure it is. When someone points out to me, somebody will for sure comment and go, "It's a lot easier than you think," but it's still a bit of a faff. Everyone needs to be logged into the right thing, and of course, it's my son's account, so really, it's actually tied to. He doesn't have an email address or anything like that, and so he goes, there's an element of simplicity to the consoles, and it hasn't become very simple. There's another reason why I think it's important. Sony will need to have some systems in place, particularly to work with other retailers. They are being at the moment. There's a bunch of class action lawsuits going through the UK, the Netherlands, Australia, and Portugal around accusation that the PlayStation Store is a monopoly. So the honest with you, it seems I was really quite down on these lawsuits because it's the idea that Epic took Apple and Google to court for the same thing, right? But the difference being is Apple and Google are duopoly and they make money on the hardware, whereas the idea is PlayStation charge a 30% fee on their store because they can. No one else can be on that store and sell digital games. And that's what they're being sued about. The argument is that 30% fee is actually quite reasonable when you consider how much money Sony spends on the platform, spends on marketing the platform, subsidizes the hardware costs in order to reach a wider audience. There's there's a feeling that actually it's probably okay, that 30% fee. But regardless, there's a lot of court cases going on, and the argument is the PlayStation Store is a monopoly. PlayStation argued that no, it's not, because you can buy these games from the Xbox Store, a lot of them. You can buy them from the Nintendo Store, some of them, and Steam and places like that. You can also buy them from physical retailers. Now, the counter argument to those other platforms is you have to own the platforms. Those platforms aren't cheap. It's not like going from one clothes shop to the next. Well, it is if the other clothes shop charges you $600 to walk through the door. But but the fact that you can buy a lot of the biggest games on PlayStation from physical retailers is important. I know they're saying they're still going to do that, but at the moment, one of the big things, one of the arguments that these lawsuits, these legal people are making against PlayStation is the fact that you can't buy digital codes anymore just for random games. They don't. You can buy points cards, but you can't buy just the games themselves. And I think that probably might need to change. I don't know, but yeah, it does feel like the console industry is going through it was already having a tough time before the component crisis. There was questions around what's its future. Do young people even want consoles anymore? Is it just the domain of older people, like the people on this podcast?
I'm only just 31 by a couple of days. Don't lump me in. It's a really tough time. But what really gives me a little bit of optimism is Xbox believe in the console. A year ago it felt like they didn't, and now it feels like they do, because that's what that Gears of War decision's about, that Clockwork Revolution decision's about. And obviously PlayStation obviously do, because that's what that moving games off PC represents. Nintendo obviously do. It's now just on those very smart people to work out, hey, how do they get around this component crisis, and what can they produce in these consoles that make them exciting again? A man I know who loves discs, Chris Scullion. What are your thoughts on this? And talk about it without referring to the story we'll do later about Xbox's potential workaround.
Just for the avoidance of doubt, I've been a Bobby Digital for the past 2 generations as well. I've ended up with discs over time, but I've always 99% of the time I buy digital as well. That's just the way it is. But at the same time, this still does feel like a bad thing, because there's a lot of people who buy digital only going, well, this doesn't affect me, this is the future, blah blah blah, don't worry about it. But for a lot of things, as per a lot of the stuff we already discussed, even if you buy digital only, this may affect you in the future. All those people who bought 007 on physical, I dare say a lot of them bought it physically because it was a single player game and they wanted to be able to trade it in again when they were done with it, take it to CEX. CEX will be sitting there just now going, we're stuffed. And even retailers, if retailers have been able to sell digital code versions of games instead, there's still no trade-in there. So retailers who also accept trade-ins, like our patron Shay, who has his own shop in the US, he'll be stuffed for that. Also, although I don't massively buy into the idea that digital code versions of games and retailers are going to sell that much. I think that's a token gesture by Sony that will eventually kind of go by the wayside, and you then in that situation end up with no discounted games. If retailers aren't selling these codes, then they're not selling the games. If they're not selling the games, they're not doing sales. When Death Stranding, the kind of director's cut was announced for that,
what a game.
I ran to Argos and bought the disc version because they were selling it for 20 quid, whereas it was still 50 quid on the PlayStation Store. That can't happen if there's no discs. Sony sets the price. Sony's the only price. And the people who complain that Nintendo games never get any cheaper, they're about to see the same with PlayStation games, because if they're the only game in town, they're under no obligation to drop the price of any of their first-party games in the future.
The thing for me is, like, obviously I'm also a Johnny Digital. I don't know where Bobby Digital came in here. I'm not letting him in at the podcast.
Bobby Digital was the alter ego of the RZA, Wu-Tang Clan founder. So, yeah.
Is that the wee boy that reviews Costco? Anyway, the thing for the selling back games, I really do understand people's problem with that, because when I was not in a position to just get all the games, that was how I managed to play everything, was complete stuff rapidly, trade it in when it's still at peak value, and then you're only paying like 10 quid a new game or whatever. But I think this is it's way too soon in my opinion, and I think it will be. I think people who are talking about, if we make enough noise, Sony will walk it back. It's like they've already started refitting the plants, mate. This is happening. This is happening. Like it's not going back.
And going to someone else about competition, unless Xbox can stage a big comeback, which they might win back some market share, but I'm not expecting anything major. Why would they?
Yeah.
What's your other option?
The stuff about like, people, they can take away access to your games whenever they want. They can already do that. Like, go and try and play Concord. Like, I don't have much.
Go and try and play PT.
Yeah, I don't have much stall with that stuff. Sure, there is cases where like, well, I was going to say there's cases where you can just keep your console offline and put in the disc, but if you put in the disc a first light, you can only play the first level. Like we're well
because it affects people who are digital only as well, right? I mean, even though I typically would just buy my games digitally, a good example would be that Mario 3D All Stars. They sold like 10 million copies of that, right? You can easily, even though they've pulled it from stores, if I want that in future, I can go and get it from a resale site. If they pull the shops down, etc., I can go and get it.
The moment the moment consoles stopped reading directly from the disc and just started installing from the disc was the moment it died.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the argument that the disc preserved the game died at that point, because now we put a disc in, you still have to install the game, you still have to then run any DLC patches, whatever. So
do you need to log in if you've downloaded? Sorry, it might be a naive question. I don't play enough digital games. If you download a game, if you put a disc in, you've downloaded the game, you've got the console. Does that, it's there, right? The game's there. You could sell that console on, and the game would be on the thing. Or do you need to like a?
Well, they would need your account.
It'd be tied to your account. Yeah, yeah. Which is,
no, so it's not tied to the console.
Which is why people would make dummy accounts and put like PT on it, and then sell the PS4s with the only game on the account is PT, etc. But yeah, I think that man, it's going to be a weird couple of years. Doing this in the context that we had a quote on the website about like, oh, that means we're probably not getting PS6 till 2028. It's like, mate, don't give me PS6 until 2030. I don't care. Like, I couldn't be less interested in the PS6 right now. Like, I'm playing something at the minute on the PS5 Pro, the best deal in gaming, and I'm like, I'm so happy with where I'm at the moment. There's no, towards the end of the PS4, I was like, this thing is creaking. Like, we need to get going on new machines, but. Like,
now, do you know? I was pretty happy with PS4 as well at the time. I think the only one, having gone through all those gens, the only one that I thought, come on, was PS3, because PS3 just barely could exist at that point. PS4 brought with it, full game downloads, and you could do big kind of online games and stuff like that you couldn't do on PS4, PS5. They kind of like. They made that happen to a certain respect, I think, and that's what they'll do again.
That last year, PS4, what was it? You had that Final Fantasy 7,
Last of Us Part 2,
Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, Miles Morales. You said, thinking, oh, well, we're ready for a new generation. Actually, I'm fine with this one. I thought Switch 2 was neat. Switch was really starting to show at its age. But I know. Actually, that's the other question, right? The most popular games in the world are Roblox. And you sort of go, well, do people really want... I mean, there is some people that do. But do people really demanding that, the next generation? And those are questions PlayStation and Xbox will be wrestling with right now. Do we need to be pushing the most powerful games console on the planet? Or do we need to create something that's more accessible or more interesting? And will this component shortage force them into doing that? I
mean, we had a conversation about this the other day, Dringo, which I find is probably a lot of people aren't talking about this. This is the bigger issue, is that for all the third party, everyone making games, every indie developer, every big publisher, etc., they need somewhere to put it. Like it was, again, you talk about the console agreement that I started out with consumers. The console agreement was with publishers as well, right? We're going to subsidize this, and we're going to bring in as many consumers as we can and give them all the options, et cetera, so that to make this ecosystem where your games can thrive. What happens if those consoles disappear? To all these publishers who rely on, selling their game. I mean, because we were talking about the other day, there are loads of big franchises on console that do not necessarily really cross over to PC at all.
No, you'll be surprised at how the difference between those audiences. Yeah, there's some games that do well, but sports games are never in the top 10 Steam titles, right? They're always in the top 10 console titles. That's the biggest illustration of it. But if you start going into Assassin's Creed, or my favorite one recently, because I was looking at stats around Xbox games on other platforms, was Indiana Jones. It did really badly on PC, but it's the sort of single player, story-driven games.
That's baffling to me, especially when a license like Indiana Jones, because that's properly like, oh, I like building PCs. Like, that's a proper kind of franchise that should appeal to them.
But I just think that kind of game, and I'm sure there'll be exceptions, and horror games do well on PC and so forth. But I think those sort of games just naturally are more the domain of a PlayStation. And I think naturally those users are in that world, and that's what they play. It's one of the reasons I think PlayStation have pulled out of PC. But
That's Jim Ryan on the phone for Dringo there.
it's
Hi, Dringo.
Hi, Dringo. I'm here to talk about the PlayStation 5.
I tell you who I feel sorry for. I feel sorry for Scanivo, the company that makes steelbooks.
Get it up! The steelbooks are terrible. Steelbooks are
that was a joke, to be clear. I hate steelbooks. But to a larger point, if there's no more physical games, then the number of big fancy collector's editions will come down. You've got to imagine.
Well, no,
I know a lot of those don't have had games in them for ages. But if there's going to be fewer shops just selling games in general anyway, in long term, this is going to result in fewer game stores. I know we've barely got any in the UK anymore anyway. Most of them are now at the arse end of Sports Direct. But you're going to get even fewer game sections now in shops, which will consequently mean fewer places to buy fancier collector's editions.
The thing with the collector's edition is, I'm pretty sure PlayStation currently only sells their collector's editions on PlayStation Direct, and they always make a big song and dance about oh, you can only get it on PlayStation Direct. It's only this limited thing. All but one, as far as I'm aware, of those PlayStation collector's editions have not sold out, and every days of play they're like half the price, so you can get that big 18-inch Venom statue for £100, and at that point I'm like, 100 quid, sure, 250 quid. No, thank you. Look, we're in an all digital future, but thankfully our digital games will remain with us forever, and there will always be a way to access them. Story number 2: Sony is closing the PlayStation Store on PS3 and Vita. Quote, after nearly 2 decades of supporting the PlayStation 3 console generation, we wanted to let you know we will be closing the PlayStation Store on PS3 as well as on PS Vita. PlayStation Store on PS3 will close in select markets starting this year, followed by global closures for PS3 and PS Vita next year. That means new content purchases will no longer be possible on the PlayStation Store closes on these devices. To ease the transitions, players will still be able to download previously purchased content after the closing date for the foreseeable future. According to Sony, the PS3 store will first close in Mexico, Honduras, and Nicaragua in August 2026, which is
it's always Nicaragua that gets in it.
Right in the buzz. Followed by additional Latin America and Middle Eastern countries in late 2026. Quote, as the PlayStation Store continues to evolve and support modern commerce systems, including updated payment processing standards, PS3 and PS Vita are no longer able to support these updated at the level required. We know this news may be disappointing to PS3 and PS Vita players who hold a special place in their heart for this generation of gaming. PS3 and PS Vita represent an important era in PlayStation history, so this was not an easy decision for us to make. People with a long memory might remember they tried to do this before. Sony previously attempted to close both of these stores in 2021, announcing that it was going to close the stores alongside the PSP store that summer. After the backlash, get ready. After the backlash, Sony U-turned on the decision, with then SIE President Jim Ryan stating, upon further reflection, it's clear that we made the wrong decision here. Sony has decided at the time to keep the PS3 and PS Vita stores open, but now it's all over. Chris Scullion, top 10 Vita games, number 10. Number 9.
Visual novel pish. I had a very soft spot for MotorStorm RC, which is very underrated.
MotorStorm RC? I love it.
Top down remote controlled MotorStorm game, which was really good. Any game with a
franchise was pretty good. I know they got absolutely shafted because of didn't they release that Pacific Rift game 2 days before the Japanese tsunami, and it was like, right, lads, we need to really
it was
MotorStorm.
Yeah, but I thought MotorStorm was pretty good.
That game Maverick's making, what's it called?
Clutch. That game is class, by the way.
He's the MotorStorm guy, isn't he? That's,
Johnny MotorStorm?
Stephen MotorStorm.
He's former. Anyway.
Let me tell you, if I was I've said this before, if I was a big publisher and I had a bit of spare catch, I would go to the Clutch people and go, I'll have that, thank you very much. Because
I don't think you even need that much. I think the game's mostly been funded by Amazon, so you can just go give them a bit of marketing money. Yeah,
Andy, how much money have we got on the Patreon? Can we publish Clutch?
Maybe we can barely publish the site.
Well, I reckon we could have done their announced plan. They stream it in a car.
I quite like that
They're
video.
marketing at this point. Sorry, Chris, continue.
I was continuing with my top 10 Vita games.
Yeah, please, number 8.
I think you'll find the list.
So while you're talking about it, you made a list of games that are going to disappear entirely, right? Digital only games, about 100 games.
Yeah, that's right.
So stuff like Rain.
Pain.
Anyone remember Rain?
Oh yeah,
not Pain. Rain.
Yeah, Pain will
Japan
also
studio
disappear.
one.
Remember Rain?
It's a couple of pixel junk games. Infamous Festival of Blood.
Oh, come on. Infamous just gets shafted
It's like
constantly.
stuff you just will not be able to obtain anywhere, like outside of piracy, basically.
I'm just looking at a feature I wrote 7 years ago for a little site called Video Games Chronicle, where we detail the best PlayStation Vita games. So you might want to jump on that.
Oh yeah.
But anyone looking to buy some Vita games before it dies, you might want to get the likes of DJ Max Technica Tune, which is a great rhythm action game. Final Fantasy X HD and Final Fantasy X2 are on Vita. Geometry Wars 3 was very good. God of War Collection, Gravity Rush.
Did you say you wrote this for VGC?
I did. If you
Then
search-
why am I finding it on Tired Old Hack before I'm finding it on VGC?
Because listen, we had a little agreement when I first joined VGC where a lot of my content would be sunsetted. I.e. Control C, Control V.
Upon further reflection, it's clear we have made the wrong decision to sunset Tired Old Hack.
Listen, what a sight. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff on. Let's not forget PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale.
Class.
The last official appearance of Parappa the Rapper.
Uncharted Golden Abyss, that was Vita, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, anything that didn't use the rear touchscreen that much.
Oh no, I like Tearaway.
That was okay. That one gets a pass, but stuff like all the FIFA games.
Like Chris Scullion is.
No, I genuinely forgot about Tearaway,
When
but
somebody
all
says
the.
something that he disagrees with, he just goes, okay.
I just go, okay, which secretly means okay. I'm glad you like it, but no thanks. Every FIFA game on Vita had the thing where if your finger touched the rear panel, you're going to hit a shot.
Good.
Which was infuriating on the tube when you were getting jostled about. So yeah, God rest it. But sound shapes as well.
People.
Everyone gets sound shapes. That was an amazing game.
Yeah.
With a
The
level
Vita,
by
man.
deck.
The Vita was a class little handheld, but the thing is, as with all of these things, all of the games that made the Vita iconic have been ported in better versions to proper machines. So you can play Freedom Wars, you can play Persona 4 Golden. Like, obviously Persona 4 was a PS2 game. Don't at me. There's the comments on the YouTube version of these podcasts, honestly, gas leak stuff, but don't at us. Virtue's Last Reward, get on that. Before we go for a break, it's my favourite segment of the show. It's time for
60 retro seconds with Scullion.
It's like Jimi Hendrix never died. I mentioned these briefly in a previous one, but I've only just started properly messing about with the Memcard Pro 2 and the Memcard GC Pro. These are memory cards you can buy. Yep. This isn't a pitch. I bought these myself. These are new memory cards you can get for your PS2. Also works in PS1 and for your GameCube. And what you do is you pop a wee SD card in the top there, and even just like a 1 gigabyte one is enough for like thousands of memory cards. And basically every time you put in a new game, the memory card will read that it's a new game. It will create a brand new memory card on your SD card. So every time you play a new game, you're basically playing with a fresh memory card. But I also understand the PlayStation 2 one lets you actually play games from it, but I couldn't possibly share any more information on that. But yeah, they're excellent. Basically, anyone who's got a GameCube knows how brutal it is getting GameCube memory cards, because you either need to get a first-party one which barely holds in, or a third-party one which is always a bit temperamental. This, I will never use another memory card again, because this and the PlayStation 1 are just like infinite memory cards essentially. So yeah, fully recommended. You can get them on 8-bit mods.
That was 60 retro seconds with Scullion.
We're going to go for a break and mourn the death of Sony Interactive Entertainment. You may know them from Parappa the Rapper and other games. We will be back after this. And we are back. Next story. Xbox is reportedly planning a way for players to convert their discs into digital copies. We're saved. Hooray. As reported by The Verge, the feature, which is reportedly codenamed Disc to Digital, that's quite a bad code name because I can work out what that means, is being tested by internal Xbox testers at the moment. When a player inserts a compatible Xbox disc and installs and plays their game as normal, they will then be granted a digital entitlement for that game as if it had been purchased on the Xbox Store. This means the players can then remove the disc and continue to play the game as if it had been a digital purchase, with all existing benefits that entails. As such, if the digital version of the game is available for streaming on Xbox Cloud Gaming, players with a Game Pass subscription will be able to stream it. If it's a Play Anywhere title, that will also get them access to the PC version. The report says the feature is intended to work with Xbox Series X and Xbox One discs, but not Xbox 360 or original Xbox games. In order to prevent widespread sharing of each game, the digital entitlement will also be tied to each disc. This means if players give their disc to a friend, trade it in, or try to play it with a different Xbox profile, the digital entitlement will swap from account to account. Discs will reportedly continue working after they've been installed, and players will only lose their entitlement to keep playing if the disc is given to a friend or sold to someone else.
That's exactly the same as their Xbox One plan, by the way.
Yeah,
exactly 100%.
The same.
Don Matrick.
I mean, I was reading up about it. I was reading up about that yesterday. That's exactly how they proposed Xbox One would work.
This has been in their ecosystem ever since the Xbox One. This, like Andy says, this was the plan. Like, that's when you put a disc in an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X, you're literally just it's basically you're downloading the version that's on the store, and all it's doing is you're required to keep the disc in because it's flagged as the disc version. All this seems to be doing is taking that flag off and assigning it an ID. The only thing I'm not sure how it works is I'm pretty sure Xbox discs don't have an individual like code on them, so I'm not sure how they're going to enforce tying a license to every individual disc, because I'm pretty sure when they're mass produced like that they don't have an individual like code on them. But I don't know, maybe they do.
It must have been something they planned for back in those days, because they announced that policy and they U-turned it like within a month, right?
Yeah.
So it was probably already in place.
I mean, I'm glad it's happening. It's still obviously not the ideal solution, because this all but confirms that Helix won't have discs either, because this seems like a way for people to prepare for a disc-free future.
Going back to that my talking about the Xbox One reveal and how PlayStation actually, what an open goal, Xbox.
I know.
You're losing money anyway. They literally could have done the video with, they could have done the greatest clapback of all time. Do a video with Asher and someone saying this is how you use your discs on our next console, you know.
But then they put the disc in and just sit there and wait for it to copy over. And they'll go, they put
the disc in and a screen comes up and goes, this developer doesn't actually exist anymore, so this disc isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah, but it's like there's very clearly a lot of this been going on the last couple of weeks of opportunism in bad news PR, right? A lot of these companies have clearly been dropping this stuff because, that's a clanger. Let's hide this one out. I mean, even PlayStation was doing it to itself, right? Yeah. No one's talking about the PS3 and Vita store closing because they hid that underneath the disc news. No one's talking about GTA doesn't have a disc version anymore, are they? You know?
Good point.
Oh, yeah, I think they're all getting out ahead of the Xbox layoffs, right? Yeah. So everyone,
and even the Xbox layoffs, and I'm very cynical about this. The Xbox layoffs, the first leak happened on the day GTA pre-orders opened.
Yeah,
or they announced pre-orders. Sorry, the day they announced pre-orders.
To be honest, I've been hoping for this. They should have done this when they launched this generation or the past, whatever generation. Series X. When you launched Series X and Series S, they should have done this at that point, because
you can't put the disc into Series S though, can you?
But you could have at least with your existing Xbox One could have at least got your digital licenses before buying a Series S, because I've got stuff like Lego Dimensions, which I love playing and the kid loves playing. They never released it digitally because you needed to buy it with the USB gizmo that plugs into it. So I'm praying that this means, because like I say, with every other Xbox game, it's still on the store. You just can't buy it. That product exists on the store. So I'm hoping this will finally let me play Lego Dimensions on my Series S, because I won't need the disc anymore, because until now there's no way for me to play disc games on it. So this is a policy they should have done at the start of this generation instead of the
Should have
end
done
of
at
it.
the start
but
of Xbox One generation.
as was the plan, seemingly.
I mean, they might as well. The Xbox One generation literally couldn't have went worse, so they might as well have just went two-footed with it and seen what happened.
I said it at the time, mate. You were talking about that conversation in the departures lounge after the reveal, because PS5 had been announced in February and this was in May. And we were having a couple of beers and kind of chewing the fat on it. And that was the conclusion I came to, because there was already talk about them U-turning all this stuff, because it was massively unpopular. I mean, the interviews were a disaster. But I remember saying, this thing is just a shitter PS4 if they remove all these policies, because it literally wasn't as powerful because they had to accommodate Kinect, right? And that's exactly what happened. They removed all that stuff and it was a shitter PS4.
Yeah, I really like the Xbox One in those first couple. I mean, I really like the Xbox One generally, but I think the first couple of years I preferred the lineup on that console.
But they showed us all sorts of stuff behind the scenes that was exciting. But again, this is what hammered home, right? Yeah. That you're like, the messaging on this has been so poor, because they were showing us some of the stuff that the new Kinect sensor could do, and it was really impressive. And you were sat there thinking, Hideo Kojima's going to make a banger, horror game with this, or and they kind of, before it was able to do anything, they discontinued it.
I genuinely think the greatest innovation that consoles have done in the last two generations is walking into a room and saying Xbox on, and it just turns on.
Oh, mate, don't talk to us about that.
The QI alarm goes off as someone mentions Snap on this fucking podcast.
Oh, listen, bring it back.
No.
Snap was sensational.
Yeah, it was amazing, brilliant. That's why Xbox won the last two generations and PlayStation's dead.
If they'd have kept Snap, instead of
maybe Asher should be
bowing to
listening
peer
to you
pressure
instead of people on Twitter. Then we'd be sorted.
If Asher wants to give me a shout, I'll tell her I've got a laundry list: 1 versus 100 to return.
Yeah,
Snap to return.
Isn't it bad that this sounds like stuff she'd actually do?
Hearing you,
listen, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
We're bringing back Snap, and it only shows the Xbox wire in the corner of your screen, postage stamp size, and it makes your games run at like 720p, 30 frames a second.
Sold.
And Scullion's on this podcast being like, well, maybe if they make it work, it could be okay. That's quite a
character assassination. We're moving on here, but it's okay.
We're 59 minutes into this record. It's time for the character assassination of the week. Let me get my fucking soundboard back up. No, I actually think before we move on to this, I think this is class, and I think they should do it, and I think PlayStation should steal it. However, PlayStation refuses to steal the only good things Xbox does, aka feature of the generation, quick resume. Refuses to steal it for whatever reason. Like, I don't understand that whatsoever, especially in a world where, since the PS5 launched, if you change games, there is nothing that goes like, whoa, wait a minute now. You're going to another game, you know that? Your game isn't going to be saved. You're fucking off to a totally different game. Whereas on Xbox, it's like, hey man, don't worry, you go to that game. We'll hold this for you. You come back in 6 months and you'll still be in the middle of Rise, Sun, or
Do you think it's patented? Do you think there's a way that it hasn't been? There's a reason why, or is it maybe just the way the
things
machine architecture is? It's just not really possible. Probably the latter, because when you install updates and stuff like that.
Try message Mark Cerny and ask him.
Oh, hey Eddie, how you doing?
I'm gonna do it.
How's the Hammers doing?
PlayStation loves stealing.
Implement quick resume, but we couldn't actually do it because it was patented.
PlayStation loves stealing.
How's my favourite soccer team, West Ham United?
Being inspired. PlayStation love being inspired. I'll use the word from their competitors. Let's not forget the Move. But PSN is Xbox Live. Like, it's all just.
But the PSN's Xbox Live, if it was designed by a 4-year-old, to be fair, the original PSN was an absolute joke. Yeah. Although Xbox never had printer settings, so one in the eye for the old Xbox over there.
I would say it's Xbox, with people be down on them, but the impact they've had in the industry from online and what they did from Xbox Live and just, even with Kinect, they don't always get it right. It doesn't always work out, but they do push it. They're always a challenger. They're always trying to innovate. They're always trying to push the industry forward and pull things forward. And I think it's, PlayStation might borrow it or Nintendo or whatever. But I think it's really, that's why you need these companies to do well. because
Oh yeah,
it inspires the rest.
when the book is written, it will be a lot of stuff that Xbox introduced that the other two made a lot of money out of because Xbox never capitalized on. Like, it's crazy how many times that's happened.
Do you remember the good old days when the PlayStation Network was down for 24 days after that big hack?
You would
remember
call
that?
it.
And all
good
your
days.
trophies are gone.
Yeah, that was amazing. The good old days.
It's mental.
Imagine if that happened now.
I would love
So
to turn off the internet
if we're
for 6
being
months.
fair, by the way, we won't talk about all these innovations Xbox introduced because we'll be talking about all the innovations that Sega introduced,
Yes,
and then
here
they
we go.
just borrowed.
yeah, it's true.
To be fair, if the PlayStation Network went down for 24 days these days, someone at Xbox would trip over the Xbox Live cable and that would also come down for 24 days, so I wouldn't
Yeah,
worry
they'd
about
say
it too much.
24, we'll make it 30.
I once
I'd sack the
I
people
once-
involved.
on that same trip, the Xbox One trip. They gave us a tour of the campus, and I got to go to Mission Control, Xbox Live Mission Control. It looks exactly like the NASA, kind of Mission Control. And they had 4 copies of every game ever released on Xbox in every region version. So that at any point, if anything went wrong, they would have them all there to try it out.
Wow.
It was mad.
Quick, we need Fusion Frenzy, Korean version.
We need Chinese Sneak King. Anyone got Chinese Sneak King? I like to imagine them on those like ladders with wheels on the bottom and they're sliding along these big shelves of Xbox 360 games.
Horsing out
I'm
copies of
picturing-
Blinks the
Imagine them
Time
putting
Sweeper.
it in, and they're like, "God, I've got to download a patch."
I'm picturing the Indiana Jones warehouse. That's my with just like a giant crate of, I don't know,
That's where Don Matrick is right now. He's in one of the boxes. It can't come out.
of just an entire crate of 2 humans somewhere sort of stuck in that one now.
God
Buried
rest.
under copies of Toe Jam and Arrow 3.
2 Human 2 coming any day now.
Grabbed by the ghoulies.
Grabbed by the ghoulies. Didn't they put out like a nicer version of that? Like,
It
not.
was on Rare Replay,
Rare
wasn't it?
replay. It's aged really well.
Ghoulies?
apart from the accents.
The Grabbed by the Ghoulies is a legitimate banger. Like, I think
it's a great game,
it's just because it is. I never played it until they did Rare Replay, and I thought this game was
Rare
supposed to be
Replay.
rubbish. And I guess it's quite short, and it's like, I can see why it got a 7 out of 10 when it came out. But playing it today as part of that collection is probably the highlight of that collection for me. It's the biggest surprise out of the whole thing. It's really good. And I love
It's definitely worth checking out.
Tug my turnips and all those sort of slightly dodgy
Excuse me?
phrases. there's a farmer that just keeps saying things like "pickle my plums," "tug my turnips."
You love shite like that.
But-
you love games that are first of all quite pish and second of all full of puerile innuendo like conkers and shit like that.
And whose endo?
Yes, but the thing with that was really funny about that is that Xbox would come along because it was very British term things, and they would stop. They would say, no, you can't say that. And it was one of the normal ones they put in. And they're like, what does that mean in America? But the dodgy ones all made it through. Like there's did you say this on the podcast before, Andy, about the wanker bit in the, so there's these mummies in Grabbed by the Ghoulies and they go, wanker. And when you get all of them in a room, they all sort of slightly out of sync and they're just hitting people going, wanker. And that's very late 90s, early noughties Rare. But yeah.
Rare Replay, man, that was like one of the best things they ever did. At one point, you could get a physical copy of Rare Replay for £4.99. It's crazy.
That's the best deal in gaming.
That is. I say this a lot to some of the people that used to work there at the time. As a business journalist, I cannot stomach that game. Like, you basically gave your entire back catalogue away for fuck all, right? And you just went, you could have made so much money out of that. And I went, well, that's not what we're really about. And I'm like, sure, but
Well, making money, yeah.
As someone
as
who
we're
was,
finding out, yeah.
as someone who was never really into Sea of Thieves, was Rare Replay their kind of eulogy almost? Was that like the end? Was that the game that marked the end of Rare as we knew it? And just everything since then.
Well, Connect Sports wasn't on it. They had the Connect Sports era.
Yeah, but
I think,
that doesn't feel like Rare.
that's what I mean.
Obviously,
Like,
Rivals was like Rivals was good. I give
I
that
liked
good.
Connect
Actually,
Sports.
Rivals actually had personality because they moved away from that Wii chasing era and
Avatars,
actually
yeah.
made something that felt a little bit more like Rare. I mean, Rare games in common, they've always had in common is that they have personality, right? When did Rare stop being Rare? You could say that on a myriad of different things, right? Probably. They were. In fact, Chris and I between us know, most of the Rare guys, most important old school Rare guys, right? other than the Stampers, who are unobtainable, seemingly.
I did have dinner with them.
And you know what? If you speak to most of them, when did Rare stop being Rare? When they moved out of the barn into their big current HQ, which was during the N64. Because suddenly there were dozens and dozens of teams, and you lost that family mood,
But
and then that's when things started changing.
You could. There's so many different arguments. You could say the Kinect Sports era. That's when they became one team, basically.
But they would say that's their most successful game ever.
But it is. So there was this time where there were loads of different teams sort of making loads of different things, and when we Kinect Sports is when they went right. Move it all together. But you could argue that. But also, I haven't played CFEs for a while, but it's full of Rare nonsense humor.
Yeah. Every time I see trailers for it, it looks like a Rare game now. It did, at the start, it was a bit po-faced, but they've definitely brought it around.
Yeah, well, you say po-faced, but they had an entire mechanic in the game where you just throw up into a bucket and throw at your friends' faces. Like it could have been from that. Because the people that make that game are Rare fans, even if they weren't there at the time. So the vibe is still there. It still feels like the studio, but obviously it's a modern version of it.
I think you'll find when the studio changed its name from Ultimate to Play the Game, that was when it actually died.
But you can make loads of different cases for it, I think. Well, I'm sure this was a topic on Jordan's list.
Next, the history of Mastertronic.
Once the clock goes over 1 hour on this podcast, it's like freeform jazz. Anything that comes up, anything that anyone wants to talk about, I'm game for. I bought my Xbox One. I actually bought 2 Xbox Ones in very short succession. I bought one for Titanfall because it's an absolutely incredible game, and I bought one the following year because they released a bundle with FIFA 17 maybe, but the bundle came out a month before the game did. However, someone found out the copies of the game with the bundle just unlocked the full game and not a pre-order. So I ran down to Game Station in Paisley, bought an Xbox One just to play a month of FIFA early.
I loved that first couple. I loved Titanfall. I thought it was brilliant. I loved Sunset Overdrive. I absolutely adored that game. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
I really had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I didn't realise. I used to think they went on to Spider-Man after that, but we had Jason Rubin history sort of a celebration of his career, and Ted Price at Insomniac came on and he told a story about how after Sunset Overdrive they were expecting to do Sunset Overdrive 2, but Xbox didn't renew it. I guess it didn't do well enough. And he had this big team that he had no idea, and he started to panic. He got, we need the money, and he called up Jason Rubin, and that's when Insomniac did those VR games. I didn't know that anyway.
I think a Sunset Overdrive 2 would have been absolutely class. Like that first game was cool, but it had ideas that you were like, okay, a 2 would have really like nailed this down.
I thought it was great.
Dead Rising 3, where you could go, hey zombies, come over here to the Kinect, and they would walk over and go, ooh.
Was Jim Ryan in it?
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm a zombie. Have you got any brains? Oh, Jim, get him on the pod. Anyway, very briefly, good news for Chris Scullion. Rockstar says GTA 6 plays best on PS5. I'm not really interested in that because I think their reasoning for this is rumbly controller nonsense. But I want to know, Chris Scullion.
Hello.
How is life with the PlayStation 5 Pro?
I'll tell you when I've unboxed it. It's literally it's not even out the Amazon.
Away his Xbox.
It's not even out the Amazon box yet because I know there's faff involved with unscrewing the old one and taking the SSD out of it, and I just can't be bothered.
It takes 10 minutes maximum.
I don't have 10 minutes, mate. I'm all go.
Did you have to remortgage to be able to afford it?
It's the best deal in gaming, Chris Dring. Shut your mouth.
I've been informed it's apparently the best deal in gaming, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Pound for pound. Try and build a PC that runs like a PS5 Pro for that amount of money.
Pound for pound, the Neo Geo is the best deal in gaming.
I'll stick with the PS5. Analog 3D is the best deal in gaming.
Pound for pound, since we're talking random stuff, pound for pound, the worst amiibo in gaming is the Pragmata one because it looks atrocious. It looks absolutely nothing like her.
Poor wee Diana.
It's very disappointing. Very disappointing. The quality of amiibos has been outstanding in recent years, but that one has like really taken things back way to Gen 1 amiibo when Link had like the pissy yellow stand, keeping him up.
The piss stand.
But. Yeah. We'll touch on amiibo, not that one specifically, so to speak, in a future thing, because we've got something planned for amiibo in the future.
We're finally doing that podcast about what's the easiest amiibo to shove up your arse. So look forward.
I tell you what, certainly not that one because her foot sticks out, which is very much
My favourite amiibo is the Box Boy amiibo, and I think that's probably like a butt plug, isn't it? It's the,
yeah. I mean, if you could somehow fashion this guy off, if you get this guy off, and then you're just left with the shape, then you're good to go. Sorry to the audio only listeners, but that was a great
at least
visual.
it's not like a Rathalos. That one's really spiky. The thing that surprises me about the amiibos is this feels like the amiibos always felt like absolute catnip for Andy, but anytime we bring up amiibos, he rips open this thing under his collection shelf with all the amiibos just lying there dead. Like, I suppose he's moved on to fancier shite. But
It's the one addiction in my life I've managed to throw.
Yeah, I've done the same with amiibo. I had so many of them. I still get the Zelda ones. Every time they release new Zelda ones, I buy them. But I sold them. I just got rid of them.
I'm still home. I think if I had missed out on the rare ones, then I'd probably have given up by now. The fact that I managed to get the Box Boy one and the kind of gold Mario and all that kind of stuff, gold Mega Man, means that now when they announce new ones, I just go, okay, as long as I just keep maintaining it, I'm all right.
Have you not got a dodgy boy in Japan that sorts you out for your amiibos?
He sorted me out with the Box Boy one when it came out, so I paid like a tenner for that. And it's now goes for like hundreds.
Really?
But nowadays you don't get exclusive Japanese ones anymore. So
you don't get exclusive Japanese amiibos now, lads.
That ain't took good old days. When
I
have
to say, I did get the Mario, the Galaxy 2 ones, the Rosalina one.
They're excellent.
They're really good.
They're massive.
Really fancy.
Aren't they like 30 quid now though?
But they're real. Those ones are really big. They're like a good size.
Jordan, we're loaded.
Yeah, I know, mate. I've met Jeff Keighley. I know you're very well off these days.
My bed's made of PS5 Pros. That's what I sleep on these days.
Well,
that wee middle bit goes right into you.
It's been another wonderful week on the nation's most beloved podcast. This is eventually we're going to transition to be a talk sport model where we're on for like 6 hours a day and we're just rotating people out all day talking absolute shite.
I'm up for that.
Andy turns up in an Ange mask. It's going to be great.
So we, yes.
See signs.
It's nice to be. I live in such a world of misery at the moment in the video game industry. Andy was saying at the top of this thing about how we come out of Summer Game Fest, like, oh, things are looking good, and then we've just gone through just the most, and it's not even the worst is still to come. And so I thought I've got to be on this podcast because we'll just talk about, I don't know. Apparently amiibos being used as sex toys. That is, and that's what.
No one said anything about sex toys, Chris. It was just
no, I just said if you fit it up your arse. That's the scientific experiment.
You always bring the tone down, Dringo.
I take no pleasure out of it at all. I was going to say something there before I was distracted by things getting shoved up my arse. Remember back in the day when game key cards were the biggest scandal in gaming?
Oh, now
it seems practically reasonable.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing all this stuff, and Nintendo are just quietly releasing Star Fox and selling more copies than ever sold of a game they made 30 years ago.
To maintain our remit as a timely video game podcast, Andy, can you give me a noise for Rhythm Heaven Groove? There we go. More on that on the website. Cool stuff coming. Very cool thing coming. Oh, in fact, 2 good things coming next week. Maybe more. Chris is going on holiday, so he won't be here next week.
Is that one of the good things, is that I won't be around to?
I don't think that at all. You're the light of my life. You're the only one that talks to me in the Slack. So next week, we will have some American guests on this podcast. Who they will be, you could probably guess. And then we're going straight into the summer of fun. The podcast will be from here, there and everywhere as Chris and Andy go and sun themselves wherever they're going. Andy, where are you going on holiday?
Epstein's Island.
To be fair, Epstein's not there anymore. It's just a nice island now.
It's a nice little TUI do like a nice little package deal now.
They should really rename it.
They should probably rename it, yeah.
Fun Time Island.
Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Right, let's get out of here because it's really getting off the rails. Patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle for more on our holidays to Little St. James. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment. Fight against the gas leak commenters. The good boys of the Discord will have our back, especially after what Scullion said about you know what. Until next time, Chris Dring, would you like to put... In fact, you're not getting a chance to. Say goodbye, Chris Dring.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Scullion.
Goodbye, Scullion, and visit gamebusiness.com.
It's .net.
Yeah.
Is it .net? Have you changed it again?
It's the games business dot Little St. James
.br
Island.
is the Brazilian version.
.ai.
It's obsidianisfine.biz.
Oh,
I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah. Say goodbye, Andy.
See ya.
And we'll see you next week.